Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Music Show with our
Yep.
superstar producer, Howie Darkstar. Not just a producer, he's also an engineer. And he's well read.
Sometimes I'm red if I stay out in the sun too long.
Oh, yeah. I'm always red.
That's true.
And then we have Swingin' Jay Brannan.
I'm more brown.
Spectacular, California. And we do have a special guest coming up here in just a little bit. Our friend Pulse, DJ Pulse from Canada, is going to be joining us.
Yes.
But first, tell us about your alt prom this weekend, Howie. I'm very curious to hear about this.
Oh, it was like you had mentioned last week or something about, is anybody else getting these last minute things? And it was a last minute thing.
Okay.
What's happening is still in Jersey, they're like, oh, you can have things and then they take it back. And, they gave these kids a lame prom. So it was only like, I think there was 40 at the most at one time.
And I apologized.
In a house.
Yeah.
And, adults were there and they wanted to hear their music and do their thing. They kept their masks on for about a half hour. I wore mine for the whole thing. They said, oh, you don't have to do that. And I just said, no, I feel like out of respect for you, I'll wear the mask the whole time. Sure. And it was fun. It was an unusual playlist. They wanted a lot of the, the pop punk stuff, the emu stuff and all that. And so, yeah, it was, I was put in a corner, one speaker. I had one of them clamp on tables, with the laptop and my little mixer and that was it. It was a fun time. 4 hours, easy money. So.
In someone's house.
In someone's house. Stuck in the corner again. They stuck baby in the corner again. Again.
I like being in the corner.
Yeah, I do too, though. I actually do, because nobody can come around. They have to come and right up to me.
My sound goes out nice that way.
Yeah.
Safe.
Yeah. Can you play this song?
Oh, God. I can't read that.
I didn't. No, they were cool. They didn't do that. They were really cool.
Jay, what did you have cooking this weekend?
I had a wedding. Went really well. Good wedding. It was one of the newer weddings where I've now managed to talk my clients into whatever cocktail is, something completely different for dinner, and then worry about dancing.
Right.
So we did classic rock, which for me included Zeppelin, Clapton, Aerosmith, Rat, Scorpions. And then I played a song. And I told this story last night. I played George Harrison, What Is Life, during cocktail. And I had a young, kind of cool couple, like late 20s, early 30s, come up to me about 3 songs later and he said, I have to tell you something. I'm like, what's that? He goes, I really like the music you're playing, but when you played George Harrison, What Is Life, I looked at my girlfriend and I said, this just doesn't make it at a wedding. And then I waited about 20 seconds and I'm like, no, this is actually perfect at a wedding. And I'm like, wow, thank you for telling me that, because I got the idea from years ago at an outdoor venue. The bride and groom wanted What Is Life as their recessional from the ceremony. And I just remember hitting play outside in this big open area and hearing that guitar start. And everyone was clapping for the bride and groom, but I really think they picked up more momentum based on the song just being what I would consider a perfect wedding song. And then we did Screamo, alternative, a lot of Death Cab for Cutie and Red Suit, Jumpsuit, Apparatus, Panic at the Disco. All the bands I hated when they came out. But now they're back in, like Blink 182 and
Well, I saw the video clip. It looked like everybody was having a really good time.
They had a blast, yeah. I found the perfect ending song because we didn't have an ending. And as you know, I've always said one slow, one fast, and usually one fast first, one slow. Let's be respectful. After doing those weddings last year with Queen, Don't Stop Me Now.
Yeah.
My new attitude is let's end on a big note.
Got to go out in a bang.
So I couldn't find a song. And I went over everything that the bride requested and I hadn't played yet. And there it was in the middle. And I went to the bride and I go, I got your last song. It's going to be in 3 more songs. It's your last track. What is it? I go, I'd rather you be surprised. Okay. I'm like, but I got you. Trust me. She goes, I trust you. I trust you. Came out. I played the very intro, which is like 8 seconds long. And I go, folks, bride and groom's last song. You got to be out here before they, boom, bye, 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 bye. And NSYNC Bye Bye hit. And the place erupted because it's that audience. And she turns around with this big like heart and thumbs up, and she was super stoked. But I thought it fit because it's like bye bye bye, like we're leaving.
Right.
Did they sing along to it and everything?
Every word. They knew the dance moves and
that's awesome.
It's that gen. You get them early 30s, late 20. They know that stuff, even if they weren't really there in 90. When did that come out? 98, something like that.
97
96
or 98. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there.
Something like that, if they were young then, because I mean, if they were born in 90, they're 31.
Yeah.
So if they were young then, they got it. If they're a little bit older, like even if they're 40, they were born in, 81. So by then they were late teens. Yeah, I think it fits a lot of generations.
You know what's wacky about that stuff is if you look back, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, Howie, but when I look back on like 90s boy bands, the last thing I ever thought they would have would be staying power.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And they totally do.
More than 80s. Who's playing? Nobody's playing, New Kids in the Block.
No.
No.
Yeah,
they're all on TV shows like the Blue Bloods and stuff like that.
Yeah. The only track that's got staying from that period was Belle Biv DeVoe, Poison.
But talking about just, and I don't want to get too off the road here, but talking about New Kids on the Block, we did get the Wahlberg brothers from that.
Oh yeah,
there was something from it. It wasn't just like, okay, where are they now? We have no idea. No, we know right where they are.
Yeah, well, and they still tour. They went out with Backstreet Boys a couple years ago.
Sure,
before
but they're
COVID
not
and everything.
The headliner. I mean,
well, and you know what? That's why people that do promotion should look at things for what they are. I could sell out a stadium with Rat. I just need to bring 30 other bands with them now because they don't have that power, But if you get NSYNC, Belle Biv DeVoe, Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, and New Kids in the Block, that's a $5 ticket that you're going to sell to the mother and the daughter. And that's going to be a good ticket. I think I could see that like doing well. Yeah, it kind of is. But if you've got enough of the original, and I don't want to steer this down another road either, but I'm personally can't stand it. And this happened to me in 2000 when I go to see a band and there is zero anybody in the band from when I got into the band. And I saw Molly Hatchet in 2000.
Featuring the roadie from the 1977 tour.
Because I was with PD's Crisis Team at the time, and I had produced a show a few months earlier, one of the managers from Stuck Mojo saw me. He's like, hey, man, here. And he gave me an all access. So I came backstage. Well, I went into the dressing room to see Molly Hatchet, and I'm looking around like, I'm not getting this. And I said, so exactly how does this work now with you guys? Like, oh, I joined the band 5 years ago. He goes, the oldest member is the drummer. He was the third drummer. Like, remember in the 80s when they had the big hits? I'm like, yeah. He goes, that drummer left, another one came in, and then this guy joined in 90. Yeah. And I'm like, so there's nothing that ties you to the original music except for the name.
Well, speaking of Molly
just like
Hatchet,
that movie, Hired Gun. That documentary,
which I saw, and it's true.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah.
But you can't have Calvin Harris stay home one night and have me show up and be like, who are you? Oh, I used to work with Calvin Harris, so I'm now doing the Calvin Harris show. It doesn't work that way. But if you're a band and you even have the furthest, most remote, and Vegas is terrible like this. Now they're getting smart. They're like Brian Redd's Temptations, because Brian Redd wasn't in the band. So he's put together people that were around it, or one guy actually was a backup singer, and
that is a hot ticket in Vegas.
Yeah,
people love the reviews.
Brian, let's hear about your weekend.
Yeah, just like the hot ticket in Racine, Wisconsin this weekend
is crack.
Was the wedding that I did at the Masonic Temple, which is beautiful, by the way. So Racine.
I love the interior, by the way. Those trees,
cool.
the lit up tree. I thought you did
man.
those.
No, they're there. The Masonic Temple has them there. It's part of their decor, but it's a beautiful hall. And I think Mary or Wendy, who runs it, wonderful, very cool, very nice. Been there for years, and yeah, it was a nice place on Main Street in Racine, which is all like beautiful Second Empire and Victorian homes, big stuff. Gateway College is right there. However, about 4 blocks, I guess west of that is maybe not such a great area. So the wedding was odd because we were in the basement. That big ballroom is semi-basement, semi-submersed. You have to take an elevator to go up to the ground floor to go outside, which most people were doing, and spending a lot of time in the parking lot in circles smoking cigarettes because I had a lot of smokers. And so I kind of felt like I was doing more of the jukebox thing. There was no flow, but it was fine.
Right.
Whatever. I just play songs for you, and they were happy. So that happened. And then when I was loading out, I asked the cop that was there doing security at the end. I said, "Hey, am I cool to load out here?" He's like, "Yeah, you should be fine. It's an iffy neighborhood, but I think you'll be all right." So this is what Jay was talking about. I go upstairs with my gear in the cart on the elevator. I go out, and there's probably 20 people out there from the wedding. And I said, "Hey guys, I'm going to pull the truck back. Anybody mind hanging out so they don't mug the old guy?" And they kind of laughed and said, "Yeah, we'll stick around." So 30 seconds, 5 spaces away, grab the truck, back it up, get out of the truck, walk around the back of the truck. There's a bum there already giving these kids a hard time. This big, tall, cracky bum. So I had to deal with that. That was
Did you do the "hey, do you got dollars" trick?
He didn't ask for money. He was just talking crazy. But what was weird about it was, he didn't have bad breath. I expected bad breath when he got in my face. He didn't have bad breath. It was really weird.
But tell him why you think he was so responsive to your commands.
Oh, he thought I was a cop.
Why?
Because I have short hair and no tattoos.
And what else?
And I had an ADJ jacket with an ADJ logo on it.
That's, yeah.
And he interpreted, so he kept calling me officer. And finally I just said, "I'm not a cop. I'm just trying to load my truck." And I was trying to walk. I was walking, trying to get to the front of my truck, walk past him. And he was backing up like I was backing him up. It was really weird. It was bizarre.
So you see, kids, if you get DJ clothes, wear them because people will think you're law enforcement.
But you know what the weirdo part about this whole thing was? That's the story from this wedding. There's another story that nobody's talking about. This was my first same sex with 2 women wedding, but nobody even noticed. There was
I noticed
things going on in the gig log that
2 chicks with white dresses and veils. I noticed pretty quick.
You noticed.
Well, what are you going to comment? What's the big deal?
No one said anything. Nobody.
Yeah,
said,
but that speaks to where we are today. Nobody cares anymore. Who
it was
cares?
just the most normal thing in the world, which I kind of found refreshing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone cares.
People watched the gig log and nobody made a thing of it. It was just the most normal thing in the world. And
who
that's
cares?
how I look at it. That's how I feel about it. A wedding's a wedding. I don't care.
I think we're all on the same page in the chill room. I think the majority of DJs, I know a couple guys who are very nice. They're good DJs. They're good people. But they have made it very clear to me, do you mind if I call you if I get same sex? I won't do them. I'm like,
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't know why they won't, and I don't care why they won't. It's a gig for me. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with them. Okay, because I'm not.
It was odd because the mother set it up, and she called me and she says, "Oh yeah, Big Ron recommended you because he's busy. Really glad you can do it. It's going to be here. It's this date. It's this time. How much? All this stuff." And then, almost as an afterthought, as I'm hanging up, she says, "We're a Christian family, and she's marrying a woman, and we've never done this before, so we really appreciate your help. Goodbye." All right.
Well, they took it off their back and put it on yours.
She was okay with it, but I know why she was cool with it because Ron said Brian's cool with this.
Yeah.
But at first, it was kind of like you'd think he'd mention that, but yeah.
Yeah, but we've all done. I mean, my first one was 8 or 10 years ago.
I've done 50 of them.
Yeah,
You've done a lot.
Not a big deal.
I've done
a ton.
I've done half a dozen or better, and it's all been 2 men.
Yeah. I didn't
And I
mind in
never have a
98.
problem with it, but they've always asked me, "Hey, are you cool with this?" I'm like, "Oh, of course." She didn't ask, and it was kind of weird that she didn't. I don't care. I would have said yes, but Ron, I'm sure, said, "Yeah, Brian will be fine with that. Don't even worry about it."
Yeah.
People lead with that.
Sure.
And it's funny how they lead with that. I've gone up to meet with people, and that's been the one thing that I got brought in from the venue.
Yeah.
And as I'm driving to the meeting, I'll get the call going, "Hey man, did I mention it's two guys?" I'm like, "No, you didn't." It's like, "Damn it, I totally forgot." I'm like, "I've done like 50 weddings that are two men or two women. It's not a thing with me.
It's
like
a
I'm
wedding.
totally cool. It's a wedding."
Yeah.
Aside from the weird stuff that we talked about,
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't anything that we did that was unusual.
But that's the lesson learned, Brian. Every time I've had, I mean, my first one was 1998. And the only mistake I really made was at the end of the wedding, I said, we should have a song, like a unity song, like something to have everyone together. And they were like, yeah, we love that idea. Yeah. And I chose to play Friends by Bette Midler, which is a great song. But later I was told, that's really more of an AIDS song. I'm like, it is? They're like, yeah, I've lost friends and this and that, but you got to have friends. I'm like, oh, I took it more to be for the two guys. And they're like, no, you can do it that way too, but just, and it was a gay gentleman that told me. I'm like, I always thought it was just like a great song.
I mean, it was uncool that I just played Liza Minnelli all night. Yeah, probably. Well, I threw a couple Judy Garlands in there.
That's all you got to do. Yeah, but we've had this talk over the years when I was doing Park Manor. And actually what's funny is our guest coming on in a second, he did the lighting for a wedding I did for Joe and James. And I remember their names because you couldn't forget them. And I remember the date of their wedding because it was one of those dates. Christian was here in San Diego to do a wedding with me on 9/10/11. September 10th, 2011, 10 years ago.
Right.
We did a gay wedding at Park Manor, and it was great. And they all were great. And I told every couple the same thing. I'm here to see that you have the best wedding possible. I just want people to leave and the next day say, what'd you do last night? I went to a wedding. It was awesome, actually. Danced, food was great, everything. Oh, by the way, it was two guys or two girls. And every time I've told that to a couple, that was you're our guy, please.
Yeah.
The only thing I've told to two women that I felt may have or may not have, I'd meet them at a Starbucks, and this has happened 4 or 5 times. And at some point, a young lady would walk in or something, and one of them would like lose an eye over it. And I would look at them and I would say, you know what? I hope this doesn't change things. But I have to tell you, I think I get you better than most DJs because I'm willing to admit to you, I'm a lesbian trapped inside a man's body. And every time they laugh and every time they go, yeah, no, you get us. You're done. Come on, let's go. Yeah. Give us a contract.
Right.
It was, and I don't know. Like I said, I've done, half a dozen of these or whatever, just same sex.
Dude, they're weddings.
And they're just weddings, yeah.
They're just weddings. There's nothing, I don't think of them differently in any way. The only thing that I'm thinking about and I'm asking about is how would you like to be introduced? That's
newlyweds.
But I asked that of any couple, but I know this is going to be unique.
Yeah.
So that's
what did they pick? I always say newlyweds. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen, the newlyweds, Brian and Steven.
They just,
or Samantha and so-and-so.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, you did make one mistake. It's actually Wendy and Lisa, not Wendy and Mary.
Not Lisa and Wendy.
No, it's actually Wendy and Lisa now.
The only bummer about the wedding this weekend before we bring our guest in is that Amanda was a Destiny's Child fanatic.
Oh,
so it got Bugaboo stuck in my head still.
That sucks.
Other than that, it was all good.
That may have been the thing that made me look, ladies. I don't care if you're gay, but I'm not doing Beyonce.
Come on, Bugaboo.
That would have been the get out of jail card.
I chose Bugaboo. She just said Destiny's Child, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't heard Bugaboo in a while. And boy, was
there's a reason for that, Brian.
It's on loop in my head, and they danced to it.
And by the way, my bride on
dun, dun, dun. It won't stop.
I told Christian I get the song list from the bride and groom, and the second song is Alice DJ, Better Off Alone, and I go. On the phone, you guys have no idea how much you made my night. She goes, why? I go, Alice DJ, Better Off Alone. She goes, oh, I think my dad picked that. He's in a cover band, like an 80s rock cover band. I'm like, okay, that's an odd choice for a dad to begin with, but whatever. And then I get down their list and I go, yeah, Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit at a wedding? He goes, oh, I think my friend put that there. I'm like, did you guys hand the account out? Like, well, we asked for suggestions and people typed them in. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work at your wedding. Then I get to the cake cutting. I go, oh, I get it. This is a joke too, right? She's like, which one? I go, cake cutting. She goes, theme from Titanic? I go, yeah. She goes, no, that's not a joke. I really want that. So I go to get her song. 11 years I've been using hard drives. I don't have it. I haven't played Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On, in at least 11 years because I don't have it on my hard drives. So that means I've never played it in 11 years.
Now, when we were setting this up off air, do you remember what Jay said, Howie?
I do.
Oh, wait, are we recording? I thought this was pre.
No, this is recording now.
Quick, bring in our guest.
Talk much because I really want to get our guest out.
Yeah, and Jay had a very nice segue earlier when he said
to a Canadian.
He had the multi-talented Pulse coming as a special guest, and
Yes.
you mentioned he did lighting for you.
He
And
did.
This guy knows lighting. When I saw him on your happy hour, he was doing what's called Rembrandt style lighting. And I'm wondering what he's going to look like when we bring him in. When do you want to bring him in now?
He's in now.
All right.
Yeah, I think that whole share with, stop video, start video button is what kind of, he heard his name and said, either I'm leaving or I'm in the show.
I had to cut in. Jay was going to keep talking.
Thank you, Christian. I want Jay to do your introduction though. So Jay, please do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, notoriously known as the Record Box Ninja, for those of you into the software Record Box, a close confidant and touring buddy, and half of, not defunct, but still on hiatus, tall and tan, who I just found a flyer from 2012, headliners at DJ Expo main stage in the DJ Times Square.
That's right.
And not only a New York Times best-selling author, but as was famously said by many of people at shows, when I would say, give me a description of Pulse, finally, this little old man came out and he goes, who? I said, Pulse. He goes, as a DJ, one of a kind. As a man, one of the kindest. I give you Pulse.
Jay's laying on the cheese stick tonight, the fromage.
I'm going to figure it out. I keep threatening to do this, but I did get this far. We have spent over 300 days together in hotel rooms with only incidents about that high. And they traditionally involve, sadly, me getting lost on the way to the room and waking him up. We've had a couple incidents with a bathtub and in the bathroom. That's different. But, we still speak kindly of the day I met Mr. Brian Redd in 2008, July, Chicagoland, Tui Ave at the Holiday Inn, that still has the best indoor pool of any property we've stayed.
Jay was telling me about this the other day, Brian. How is it you did not know that they had a 14-foot deep pool?
14 feet.
I haven't been in a hotel pool since I was probably a little kid.
We swim every show.
He said you didn't even know about the Bollywood dancers who were there.
I knew about the belly dancers. That I knew about.
Okay.
Because
did you know the greatest pancakes that can be had were at Parker's in the parking lot?
In fact, I was talking to KC about that because he goes there too.
Greatest pancakes the two of us have ever had anywhere on the planet Earth.
His folks live in Skokie.
Okay.
So he knows it well.
I was there when I came out to see you a couple of years ago. I stopped at that hotel and called Pulse. I'm like, you never believe where I am. I'm at the fountain. What fountain? The fountain. He goes, wait, the one that Ricky got pushed in? I'm like, that fountain. That was still, hey, he's done more shows than I have because he's been doing it longer. Right. I figure we're averaging 10 to 12, 15 shows a year sometimes. So we're talking hundreds of shows. And we both agree it's still the best show we've ever done.
Yeah.
I was talking,
for sure.
I was talking
to the people too.
That's what made it so good.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody last week who shall remain nameless, and they resemble in no way, shape, or form Matthew McConaughey or maybe Harry Connick Jr. He didn't have a beard. But he was saying there was this guy that was in the forums who was just this jerk. Didn't like him. Just blunt guy. It's like, man, when I meet this guy, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. And then he meets Pulse. And Pulse says hello. He's like, wait a minute, he's so sweet. This is the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, it's a keyboard warrior thing. Don't get him on a keyboard.
You know what?
Right.
I will be one to admit that, you know, having been doing this online for over 20 years,
Yeah,
I have softened. I used to be a lot more direct. But Jay will back me up that I've never said anything online that I wouldn't say in person.
Yeah.
I'm not hiding.
That's true. That's
I don't hide like this and go, yeah, your mother says.
No.
No.
It's only context is all it is. Are you smiling or are you know?
We
there's
banned and deleted more back in the day. We don't ban and delete like we used to. No. There was a time when I would get a hit on the forum when we were both in, and I would get a private message going, taking out the ban. I'm like, what?
Hammer.
Taking out the ban hammer.
Now,
Just go through the place.
Speaking of back in the day, as you know, there have been a lot of people streaming on Twitch and stuff in the last year. This has been something that's really kept DJs sane. And a lot of DJs saying, well, this is a really new thing to stream your mixes or have your mixes online. Yeah. And I hear that a long, long time ago that Pulse, you actually were the first to do something like this. Is this true?
I don't want to say I was the first, but yeah, we were in the early, back when you had to basically build the parts yourself. There was no readily available services. Do you guys remember Live 365?
Mm-hmm.
It was a service that they started, and it was one of the first where they actually had this little downloadable module that you could, plug something into. And it was really back then, it was almost like it was the dawn of podcasts. It was not done for DJs to stream. It was talk shows. And they were a little bit like how a lot of these services are against music now, in that if you were streaming licensed content, they would try and shut you down. So even those kinds of things that were around, and we're talking mid 2000s, early 2000s.
Okay.
So we were setting up our own servers running Shoutcast, and you're talking back in the day when if you got a 128K stream going on your upstream, you were golden. I mean, that was the epitome of stream quality. And when people started getting more broadband to their homes, and DSL and cable started getting better, and you were pushing 192, it was oh, this is so much better. And then 256K rolls around, and he's in stereo. Oh my God! People were it was incredible to do when very few people were doing it. And we even set up scripts to do if you had a digital camera that could take a picture every minute, we were pushing that because webcams were
right.
They were crunchy and grainy and small, low quality, low res. Sure. So yeah, we'd set up digital cameras to upload to our server, and we were getting our IRC chat from all over the world, having people tune in, and that kind of grew. It was very much like underground radio. We loved it. I mean, if we had something like Twitch back then,
right.
Man, Jay asked me, he said, "Are you going to get on this streaming thing?" I'm like, dude, I've already done it. I was so tired when I was helping all these people get online for the first time last year. Yeah, I've done this before, but I was so tired at the end of the day that I had no desire to do it myself. So I'm like,
right.
I've been there and done it. I've had my moments. I'm just going to, help other people get online and have their fun.
Did you have sponsors and everything else like that?
We had a group of individuals who we met mostly through the Pioneer DJ forums, who were like-minded, wanted to get online and broadcast, because we were sharing back then. This is pre-social media. We were all sharing our stuff by uploading it to our own servers, but we wanted to do live because it was great to get feedback from other DJs and say, what do you think of my mix? What do you think of my techniques, my effects? And to get it real time, that was everybody wanted to get that. Right. So the concept of putting this all together, well, nobody had this thing available. We didn't know, should we go and seek out sponsors? We just all chipped in a few bucks every month, paid for the servers, paid for the bandwidth, and away you went.
Just think if you would have been Ray's Chicken Shack present. You could have made some money. Just saying.
Well, I mean, I heard about it in '03. Like you were doing Mix Addicts in '03.
Yeah. And we had a few, yeah.
Yeah, and I got into it because of the forums, because he would talk about it, and I'm like, I couldn't, I thought it was like a radio. I'm like, oh, they're doing radio. That's cool. And then it was like, but it's not radio, it's online.
Right. You know, one of the things we called it was rhythm radio. Yeah.
Yeah, that threw me, because I'm like, and you take for granted now with XM satellite and everything else, there was no world out there really going on online. You know, I mean, I got married 21 years. It'll be 21 years on June 3rd. I don't have a single digital photo from my wedding.
I got married analog, 17 years. Yeah.
I got 2000. I got married. And in 21 years, I look back on it, there's not one digital photo of the day. It's all film. Like nobody. Connor was born, my son Connor was born in 2002. We went out and bought a 1.3 megapixel Sony camera because Michelle wanted to capture it digitally. Paid like $350 for it. It was like a sideways camera, had like a big MMC card or something.
Wow.
But 1.3 megapixel. And I think my iPhone now is like 12.
Is there a question in here, Jay?
I have a question.
Just saying how far ahead how different it was.
Here you go, Jay. This is the memory card you had with that thing back then.
Yeah.
8 megabytes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I have a question for Pulse. When did Al Gore invent the internet?
When did who invent the internet?
Al Gore.
Al Gore did not invent the internet. I'm sorry.
No. If anyone did, Pulse did.
Yeah, probably.
No, I you know what? This actually is really fascinating. My first purchase of real DJ gear in 1996 was Pioneer DJ equipment. They had just released the DJM 500 and CDJ 500 Mark II. And I found out about them through trolling news groups. Like, I was on CompuServe at the time, dial up to their system.
Sure.
I had to do all the research by looking through pages and pages and pages of text. There was no search function that worked worth a damn. There's no websites. And that's how I learned about stuff, was just reading all this text back then. And it's incredible to think now, you want to know something, you just hop online, or you pick up your phone and say, hey Siri, show me the. I was going to answer. Show me the latest DJ gear or the latest DJ news, and it's right there. And you've got high res videos, and you can watch hours and hours and hours of people talking about it, reviewing it. I mean, Brian, you. I mean, after we knew who you were and you got your YouTube stuff going, we would always look up your channel. What has Brian said about it? Because there's a voice who's actually talking about a product. And I mean, you look at where it's come. I don't want to stand like old man, standing on my front lawn yelling at stuff, but
that's my job. That's my job.
It is incredible, and I think we're doing a great job of embracing it as DJs. That it's our culture. And
what's interesting to me, as I know these guys, I've known Jay and Christian, which
we all met in Chicagoland.
Yeah, since 2008. I know these guys well. And I'm the guy who has questions about software, but Pulse is the guy who wrote the software. I mean, it's like that.
Yeah,
this guy is so smart. Have you always been into this stuff, or is this something that you just kind of fell into?
Well, my dad was actually a manager for Polygram Records in Western Canada. So music was always in our home, in my life. And, if ever I wanted to listen to anything, I mean, there was new music coming home weekly as my dad would get samplers from all the labels. And so, I mean, from an early age, it was music. And then it got to teens where it's like, you go to a party. Well, you take your music with you to go to a party. And so it was a couple of friends and I would just get a couple of CD players together and play. And then one day it became, hey, we'll pay you to play music at a party. And I'm like, pay me to play music? But, this sort of went hand in hand with my love for computers. I mean, I always had computers around the house, and I really loved that stuff. So this is merging of my two passions, and I'm happy to be here. It's a space I've always enjoyed. So, yeah.
You're a modest guy, because, I mean, I know this guy's writing like the firmwares and things for these machines?
Oh no, I'm not the engineer. I'm not the software engineer. I just I learn very quickly about stuff, and I can reverse engineer things really well. I can take things apart, figure out how they work, but to actually do the hard stuff of creation, no. I'll leave the credit to our fantastic teams overseas. They're very smart people.
Very modest guy. Very modest guy.
Yeah, totally.
He didn't invent the internet. We gave him that. He said, no, it wasn't me. He didn't do any of this stuff. We're trying to help you out here.
Oh, hey.
People watching won't know the difference. So you're the Prime Minister of Canada. How did that work out for you?
That's it's going great.
It's a true thing. Well, Brian, real quick, in late 2001, I saw the writing on the wall at my job and said, I think I want to become a full-time mobile DJ. And it was that period of time where like Mobile Beat, I'd already been there in the magazines, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I was DJing full time anyway, but as a director, not as a independent DJ. And I remember saying to my wife, when I leave, I'm going to go get the best gear I can, and I need the best mixer. So I went to my store, Gene and Tina, and said, what do you have? What's the best? And they had like a Korg, a Yamaha, and the Pioneer DJM 3000. I'm like, that's the one I think I want. And I'll say it was like $1,200 or $1,500, which back then was a ton of money.
Yeah, and they were
when you think about it,
like retail,
Yeah. I mean, this was like, holy shit.
We didn't know the magic map word back then.
No. So it was like, this is going to cost me, but I realized it was worth it. I probably spent 6 months online looking around, like Christian did. And I would go to review plays. That's where I first found the pro DJ forums. And I could tell immediately these were guys that were probably lying. It's like, I'm thinking of getting the FBT speakers. Well, I have 15 RCFs, 12 FBT. I'm like, okay, these guys are all liars. They don't have this much stuff. And I had no involvement with Pioneer. And I somehow, I don't know, if it wasn't Google, but I used some search thing to go out there, and I stumbled upon
Alta Vista back in the day. Yes.
Yeah, it probably was. And I found a video, and the video was on the DJM 3000. And I click on it, and it's a little grainy, and it's this guy talking, and he's playing Don't Say It, because I know both songs by heart. One was Faith Evans at like 104 BPM, whatever song that one was.
Love Like This Before.
Yeah, Love Like This Before. And the other one was Swollen Members, Lady Venom. I'd never heard it, and it's like, dun, 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 dun. It's a really great beat, like a really great beat.
Still to this day, it's a great one.
And he's explaining the crossfader and this and that, and it's obvious to me he's either got a camera crew or he's got a camera on his head. And it was the latter, and it was Pulse. So I tracked Pulse down to the forums where I've never been, and I start reading about the DJM 3000. And this inspires me to go buy it. Well, now I've got time in the day because I quit my job and I'm around all day. I'm just going to go on the forums. And that was what started the whole Pioneer relationship. Mm-hmm. But it was Pulse that got me to buy the mixer by shooting a video. What camera did you use? You didn't even have a GoPro.
I had a Logitech webcam that
So it was wired.
Yeah, it was wired. I taped it to the brim of my hat. And
I was going to ask that. How the hell did you do that?
So I could have both hands free. It was the only way to do it. So it's just, taped to the brim of my hat. The cord's going down. I had the mic and
But this is the thing. So when people go, oh, Pulse is like mean on the forums, no one paid him to do this. He just saw the opportunity of, well, if I do this, I can explain what's going on. I'll just shoot the video.
Reminds
like that. You remember the video where I did, I think it was in 9 segments, all 50 effects on the DJM 909. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somebody else put them up, and I'm like, oh my God, they're still online because I've totally forgotten where I'd uploaded them to.
If you search it, I think you can still find his DJM 3000, but you got to really, you got to look for it. It doesn't just pop right out.
On my channel? I can't remember.
I think you did. I'm not sure.
Now, if you guys have not caught on yet.
Oh yeah, there it is. It's on my channel.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Are almost like Laverne and Shirley. I mean, they just go hand in hand. These
Now,
two
was
have been
it
working
something like
together.
this? You took the camera and you taped it to the hat and let
Kind of, yeah. You know what? I remember now. It was actually an Intel brand camera, but that's basically what it was. It was this little flat puck-shaped thing that sat right on the brim.
That's so cool. That is so cool. I love that.
I called it the nerd hat. It was very ghetto.
You two have been essentially touring together. I mean, going to all these shows as demonstrators and working with Pioneer for how many years now?
17.
Yeah,
Wow.
I started. My first show was 2000.
He started before me, but I mean, we've been doing shows. Well, no, I take that back. 16. We did our first show in 2005.
Yeah.
So it goes without saying this last year has been rather odd. Because
It's the longest we've gone without seeing each other in 16 years. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean,
And there was a year, remember when we did the Brainyard videos? There was a year where we saw each other
11 months.
11 months, yeah, out of the 12. Yeah. By the way, I don't want to run over the show, but I won't even do the audio. I just want to real quick show you when I say grainy, just so you have an idea of what I'm referring to. This is the video.
DJ Paul will do another video how to.
Now, what year was that? What year was that?
2010.
Well, no, that was when I uploaded it. I think it was before that.
Oh.
I mean, I guess we can find out what year did.
I was going to say, I was kicking your butt in 2010 video quality wise. What the hell? That makes sense. That was just the upload year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great video, and it was enough to.
In '99, so yeah, no, it had to be.
Wow.
Yeah. See, 22 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, 99, so 22 years ago.
So speaking of the really weird year, the really weird year we've had, Christian, you're in Vancouver, Canada, correct? Or near Vancouver?
Sir. Yep.
What's going on up there for gigging and getting out and about? Are you guys doing any of that yet?
No. We've had a really nasty third wave that's hit us over the last couple of months. We were unfortunately late in getting to the vaccination party. We had done pretty well, but we got up to peak numbers this spring that were sort of a shame. I think a little bit of fatigue in the whole situation, but we're still in that situation where our health authority says you're not allowed gatherings. We can't even have anything larger than your family. They've reclosed restaurants. It's back to patios only. There's some gyms and whatnot are still closed. So we're hopeful that this summer it's back up to what we saw last year, which was maximum of 50. And that includes any venue staff, any outside people. So, I mean, I had a whole bunch of cancellations, and I had 2 weddings basically last year after everything hit.
Now, would you be allowed to travel? Like if things opened up here, would you be able to do a show with Jay, or would you have to quarantine when you go home?
Yeah, it really depends. I mean,
First chance is August, so it'll be interesting to see.
The border's still closed, though. We cannot travel except for.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then even when I did, the government instituted a quarantine where it's for 3 days. I think it's like $2,000 that it ends up costing you to quarantine yourself for 3, because you have a select set of hotels and quarantine. So
you have to pay $2,000 to stay at a hotel?
Yep. Yeah, and you don't even get to pick. And it's not a nice hotel either.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so that's still the rules. It's the border's been shut. Like
that's crazy.
We use a mailbox forwarding service that is just over the border in Bellingham, and you can go there. You pay like $12 a year, and you can have stuff sent there, so you don't have to pay to have it shipped to Canada. And they basically have had this massive overwhelm. They're like, yeah, and everything's now trying to be forwarded because there's just so much stuff that's been sitting in somebody's mailbox for a year. I kind of lucked out. I almost ordered a couple of things that would have been stuck on the other side of the border for an entire year.
Well, man, I'm really hoping that soon you guys can get some relief. I'm so happy that it feels like we're kind of getting kind of back to normal here.
Oh yeah, no, things are starting to look better. I've had my first vaccine. We got the it's the Schmeiser in Blomston. It's this gray market.
It's different up there. Yeah, it's got a maple leaf on it, so they trust it. It's not an issue.
I had the AstraZeneca. We got your.
It says
yours, but I don't feel
coronavirus vaccine, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
But the numbers are going back down. I think they're being strong about what's going on. So our numbers are correcting, and we just got to get through it. Everyone's just got to just suck it up and get through it, and we will return to it eventually. And I said to Jay, what's been positive for me is that my work here from home has been solid. So I'm not suffering from a lack of events like I know a lot of DJs have, and my heart breaks for those whose entire livelihoods were absolutely destroyed because it does suck. I mean, DJs want to DJ. So I've been really lucky in other work that I've been able to maintain income, and I'm now finding myself that I want to be more picky about the gigs I'm booking.
Sure.
I want to really connect with my clients and have the ones that really want me to be their DJ, as opposed to just, we ran through every name in the phone book and emailed everybody and said, hey, how much? Yeah. I want the ones who are actually interested in getting a great DJ.
Your company is called Tall Music.
Correct.
So you run now. I'm not going to ask you how tall you are because you just give me meters or something in my head.
195 centimeters.
It's stones. He gives it in stones.
This means nothing to me.
6'5".
Tall.
Yeah, it's pretty tall.
I'm 6'1", and I hang out with him and Mark Gallo, who's another demo. Mark's 6'3", and it's literally like that feeling of, so this is what short feels like.
Yeah.
Because even Lars, I think, is 6'3".
He's up there. Yeah.
He's up there.
I'm 6'4" in heels.
This is true. I got the psycho dog doing zoomies behind me in case that noise makes it through.
Christian,
Calm down.
When did you start doing mobile DJ work?
Well, like I said, I started sort of from high school. Like it was, somebody said, "I'll pay you to play," and it kind of went from there. I was taking for a while. I was taking like home CD players and this. My dad, believe it or not, used to DJ at one point because of course the music,
nice.
Right? He had this little 4-channel TIAC mono mixer, had wood grain side. There was no preview queuing or anything on this thing. It was just 2 channels at a time, no crossfader. And that's what I started with. And then when I started booking some events, that's when I splurged and got the really good stuff. And it had been slow. I actually focused more on my computer business after high school, and then through the late 90s. Did some traveling. I actually worked a season at Club Med as their DJ and their theater lighting technician. But then when I came back home into the early 2000s, that's when I got more into DJing and started doing more mobile stuff.
Well, the Tall Music thing is relatively new, though, isn't it? I mean, out there actively as a wedding DJ?
Late 2000s that I started that back up. And Jay can probably tell you stories of me calling and asking him questions about his mobile experience, because I had not really I hadn't really focused on weddings. I'd done more corporate type stuff, school events. And so, I wanted to get back into it. And I was like, Jay, tell me where it's at. And he was a great course.
But he comes back into it. He gets the name, gets the logo, gets the business cards, gets the license. All of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm advertising on Wedding Wire. I'm like, you are? Yeah. And within 10 minutes, he's like, yeah, I booked 30 weddings. I'm like, what? All of a sudden he blew up.
Yeah.
Dude, you blew up pretty quick. He was suddenly in demand.
I did a wedding for a girl who I knew. It was the sister of a friend. And she had 4 bridesmaids who were looking to get married within the next year. And so I had a couple of them, but word went quickly once I had done a couple of gigs that, I'll toot my own heart. I was good. And they wanted my services. So yeah, it was great.
Do you know what else is really good though? And I'm not, no joke. Your website is fantastic. It always has been.
Now, don't go looking because it's I haven't updated that thing.
It's fine. It's eye-catching.
It looks good.
Your logo's fantastic. You got it together. You
I
got
made that logo myself. That was a homegrown job. That again, it came from my years of computers and graphics and stuff. I'm like, I know what I want. I'm going to make it.
Well, I went onto the website knowing you, and I'm like, okay, we'll see what he's got. I'm like, wow, this is. If I didn't know him, I'd be like, this is cool. I want to hire this guy. It's a really good website.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Now here's something that's not going to come out that I want to bring up real quick because I find it amazing.
Oh no!
Not only is he in touch with the world around him, not only does he know what's happening, where, and when, but you're speaking to a gentleman who has not been on Facebook in over a year.
Yeah,
2 years.
Yeah.
Yo, it's been 2 years?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
He went from pick of the day, every day for 365 days, he posted a photo. He went from being that guy to, hey, what's going on, Christian? I'm thinking of leaving Facebook. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. Like kind of like the guy in the prison that's like, I'm thinking of breaking out, like Papillon or something. I'm like, no, dude, you can't do that. Like, we've got it made here. He's like, nah, I'm thinking of just getting out. I'm like, you're going to be lonely and sad, dude. Don't do it. And all of a sudden he did it. And I'm like, how you feeling? Feel great. I've got an extra 13 hours a day. I feel good. I bought a car. I'm lifting weights. I went to the Caribbean. I'm like, oh, seriously? Yeah, he bailed.
Well,
got off.
I was surprised because he announced to Brian and I, hey guys, it's been great, but I'm going off of Facebook. And he was an admin for the DJ Video Cave.
That's right.
And
yeah.
And then he was gone.
Well, the thing that
he's still got his business page, but
it's true.
Yeah.
The thing that came up last week is like, where's Christian?
Yeah.
Let's get him in here. Let's get him involved with this.
Hell yeah.
I will say that there are times where it's like, I wonder what everyone's up to, or how do I connect with these people? But I do trickle stuff out on Instagram and my business page. It's not. I'm not getting on there to scroll though. That's one of the things I don't miss is just the endless. Hey, what's happening with their scroll. It's not the meaningful interactions. I'd rather do this where I can communicate with you guys, have a chit chat, and actually have enjoyable interactions.
Well, I've always maintained that when somebody looks and says, "What's the perfect job?" For the longest time it was that. Or, well, actually, no, because that's 3 hours a night, so I can find something to do. And how much vodka can you really drink in a day? Let me look at my notes.
Well, speaking of Facebook, before we wrap the show, Howie, I'm sorry you're not in this picture. We have a different old man in this one, though, that we'll show you. This is probably the last time we all got together right here.
Uh-oh.
We're all together the last time we had the show.
Yeah, that's 2020.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So
that's 2020.
You gotta love Morrow.
Christian, is it just me or does Jay look 20 years younger without that freaking beard?
No, you know what? I like the beard. He likes the beard. When he came on tonight, clean shaven, I was like, did you color your hair? No, it's just the beard.
Like, not yet. In it. I'm just going to go for the ponytail, I think. I'm just start doing the ponytail.
Man bun put up top.
No, but seriously, what I was going to say, Brian, real fast was, and I've said this to you and I've said it to Christian, when you look at like the perfect job, and I've always envied ESPN, the sports guys. Okay. Because they get up in the morning and take a shower, they have some breakfast, they kiss the wife and kids goodbye, they put on a suit, then they go and they hang out
and talk about
with people they love and hang out with people they want to be with, and they talk about what they're passionate about. And I've said to you before, wouldn't it be great if you, me, and Christian could figure out a way to be the three commentators at like every DJ gathering? Like every show would have a table where like the three of us roll in our clothes, do whatever, sit down and be like, hey, look over there. You see that new light? You know what that reminds? Because we could kill 8 or 10 hours easily. If somebody walked by with a freaking paper bag of something, I'd be like, what's in that? Coffee. Remember that time we were at that show and
it's a White House sub, Jay. It's a White House.
Oh, is that a White House sub? I got a photo right here with Kevin from IDJ Now. Remember we had Kevin and you and I. We got the large Italian with everything on it, and I said I don't feel like what I eat. And then we brought him over to the show, and you had that knife and you cut the.
I think I can speak. I think I can speak for Christian, where I'm going to say I love the idea, but I doubt Christian and I would get much of a chance to say much of anything.
That's even better. This could parlay into the whole mattress tester for you two.
And there, we'd be like two tellers.
Taylor and Waldorf up in
No, people would come over and be like, "Are they asleep?" No, they're doing yoga. What do you need?
We're doing a teller.
They're meditating. What do you
Two
need?
Muppets that are up in the side, Taylor and Waldorf.
We could call it
That's what we
pin
need.
and tellers, plural.
Yeah. So Brian, on your channel, oh my God, have you seen the video of Brian when he's smoking a cigarette doing the JBL driver test?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's time. So we're gonna wrap this video. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, and stick around, Christian. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna bring everybody else in.
Yeah, we'll hang for a little bit.
We do this a lot, but we do this show every Tuesday night,
7
at
p.m.
9 Central, and
7
Jay's
p.m. Civic.
with us for a minute and a half, and Howie's now our superstar producer, and you're welcome anytime. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Come back anytime.
Absolutely.
Chit chat.
We'll see you
Wait
guys
for the
next
light
week.
to kill.
And,
Till then.
Till then.
Good night, all.
Good night. Good night, everybody.